All right, folks, it's time to turn this thing into a Merikart. Went out today and got some steel, and it almost takes up the whole length of my garage, so I'm gonna have to cut her down. But as you can see here, I started tacking together and bending some pieces for the bottom of the frame of Merikart. And now I'm about ready to continue bending some more pieces, cutting, welding, etc. And the first thing I'm going to do is I don't plan to use a seat like this, especially not for the passenger seat, because space is going to be limited. I want to have as much leg room for the person in the back as possible. And this is basically the back of where the seat can be here. So I decided I'm gonna make my own seat. So I got some square tubing. I'm gonna start cutting that up and fabricating a seat. As you can see over her, gonna look something like that. So I got all the parts labeled. I'm gonna start cutting them out and start tacking them together. So this is gonna be a fairly straightforward process. I'm gonna use my welding table to set things up and kind of hold the pieces together with some magnets and somewhat of a magnetic jig. And we don't need too many tools for this. We'll need some measuring devices. An angle blaster. Maybe two. A marking device. Probably some type of protection. And a welder. There. I'm gonna use that one. So let's get at it. So I got a little kind of a jig set up. I got these things marked off on the table. I need to make 5 of these, so I'm going to go ahead and get them tacked together. Just going to use some magnets to hold them in place. Hopefully they all turn out the same. So if you're curious what welder I'm using the Weld Pro Tig 200, and this thing will TIG and stick weld. It also has the pulse setting, which is awesome. I really like using it. It's especially good for like stainless and aluminum. You can get them on Amazon. They're really not that expensive for what they do. It is a 220 volt, so you gotta have a 220 line for it. But I know they make other types that are 220 or 110, and they're really good. My buddy bought one too. He bought the one that's a MIG and a TIG, and if you're looking to get a welder, I definitely recommend these. It's my second TIG. I had an Eastwood for my first TIG. That thing was awesome too. But this thing has pulse settings, has a whole bunch more settings that you can adjust, and it's really a pretty fantastic welder. It makes me look decent, and I'm not. So just, chew on that for a minute. Well, it's pretty rainy outside. That don't mean we can't do some garaging. So we got a seat built for the passenger seat. And it's gonna go somewhere like there. Just gotta finish up some welding on that. So the reason I built my own seat instead of buying one is, well, one, I like to build all my own stuff. But mainly, I had to build a seat because the passenger seat is gonna be kind of tight to the driver's seat in this design, and that's to keep the overall weight down and to keep the wheelbase fairly short, because I really don't want this thing to be super long. As it is, as it sits, the design has the wheelbase at like 100 inches, and it's a little long for a cross kart, but I think that with a 60-inch wide wheelbase, 100 inches really isn't going to be that bad, and it should still handle pretty well. Little update on Superbike. I did a bunch of stuff with the wiring, and ended up having to put a new throttle position sensor in it, and that solved all the problems of it cutting out when I would blip the throttle, and so now it just rips. I took it for a ride today, and it pulls the front end off the ground pretty easily without having to clutch it, so that's pretty awesome. I'm kind of hoping that with an upgraded clutch in the cross kart, this thing might actually do wheelies. So let's see. Anyway, I got some of the frame started, just tacked together, and I'm going to continue working on that today. And we're going to see about positioning of the seats, and we're going to go from there. Once I get that part done, I think the next step is going to be getting the motor out of the bike and then start building up the mounts for that so that I can get some positioning for the motor. I can't really finish the design of the rear of the cross kart until I have the motor out and I know about how much room I'm going to need for that. So let's get going. All right, so I got some pipes cut for the second level of the frame, and I need to mark them straight line down the entire pipe on both sides at 180 degrees so that I can make sure that my cuts at each end, when I do an angled cut, are exactly on the same plane so the ends meet up properly. And also for my bends, because this is going to have, each of these long ones is going to have 2 bends in it. So I needed a tool to mark it halfway down and exactly 180 from each other. So I 3D printed this little thing, and it's basically set up for 1 5/8 pipe, 1.5 inch pipe, and 1 inch pipe. To use it, you just get your pipe steady on your table one way or another, clamp it, use some strong magnets, have your girlfriend hold it, whatever you gotta do. And then you take a Sharpie, so I designed the inside of this so that the Sharpie would fit through, and just the tip would come out the other side.
Just the tip, just for a second, just to see how it feels.
And then you can mark one side, and then just go and mark the other side, and they're exactly 180 degrees from each other because the holes that I put in here are half the diameter of the pipe. Just cutting some pipe. All right, so got my pipe marked. It's centered on both sides, a line down the middle, and then I have my bends, the beginning of my bends marked on both of the next pieces. And may or may not work, because this is a die for 1 5/8 pipe and this is 1.5 pipe, so we're just gonna see what happens. But what I do is I know I need to go 20 degrees, and so I have a little digital level, and I zero out my digital level, and then when I'm doing 1 5/8 pipe, I know I need to go 2 1/4 degrees more than my bend because of the rebound of the pipe. With the 1.5, I think we're just gonna find out. I don't even know if it's gonna bend it, so see what happens. Oh, not bad. 19.85 degrees. So we went 2.7 over, so I'm gonna go. Oh no, that's okay, level. Just turn yourself off.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Alright, after much deliberation, since my level turned itself off, I've decided whatever, close enough at 19.7. I'm gonna move on to the next one. Alright, so we got both bends in using the wrong size die because I don't have the right size die for 1.5. And the test that you do after that is put it on a really flat surface and see if both of your bends are in plane with each other. There should be no gaps under your pipe. Clearly using the wrong size die has led to a gap. So I'm going to get out a persuasion tool, see if I can pound her back into shape. If that doesn't work, I don't know, maybe I'll just park my truck on it for a little while. We'll get it straight though. Alright, so I'm going to come over here into my persuaders drawer. Find the biggest damn hammer I can find. Oh yeah. No. Save that for later. Alright, cover your ears! Alright, well, persuasion didn't work. So you probably thought I was kidding when I said I was going to drive over with my truck. I wasn't. Coming in hot. I felt it just spin up. Coming in hot again. It's too forgiving. Oh, no, not even close. All right, well, we might be cutting and welding it. So we got this cut. I got it laying flat on the table now so we can see that it's going to line up fine. I cleansed the edges, preparing them for weld. But in the meantime, I might as well get in some practice for my didgeridoo. This time I'd like to take a moment to thank my sponsor, Magnets. They make a welder good. So got her all welded together, just grinded off my welds, and I can do a little more sanding, and it won't be very obvious that I had to do that, but now both of these pieces match. They should work pretty well. I'm gonna cut the ends and get it ready to do my second tier of the frame. See you in a bit. All right, well, I kind of forgot to take video of putting the rest of this together, of everything that I've done. It's not a crazy amount of stuff, but I basically got a lot of the frame put together. I got that second tier of the frame tack welded on, and I did mostly TIG welding, and I plan to continue doing mostly TIG welding. I just think it looks really cool, even though I'm going to paint it. But they're good, strong welds. They get good penetration, so I'm pretty confident that this thing will be strong and not have to worry about cracking anywhere. Got the rear seat mounted I still need to make a plate for the bottom of it. Here, I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch plate with some holes tapped in it and then drill up through this mounting here and then just have 4 bolts that hold that on. I need to get some more steel, but I'm gonna make some roll bar hoops. One there and another one here. And then I'm gonna connect those with 2 bars on the top and then go from that down to the nose. And that'll pretty much complete the frame. And then the next part is pull the motor out of Superbike and then start figuring out how I'm gonna mount that to the back here. And then I can figure out my chain drive system. I'm gonna do independent rear suspension. So I gotta get some CV axles and some spindles and then fabricate up some control arms and all that stuff. So that's all gonna be coming up in future episodes. If you like what you're seeing, make sure you like and subscribe. There's a lot more coming. I'm really having a lot of fun. I think this thing's turning out pretty cool and I can't wait to finish her up. So hopefully we see you next time on Grogan's Garage.